An 18-year-old defenseman scored 1 goal last season, 1 in 35 games. Then the Toronto Maple Leafs used a third-round pick on him. And when somebody handed him a microphone, he said the player he models his game on is Moritz Seider. That is either the most confident thing a third-rounder has said all summer, or it is the correct answer. And the reason it might be the correct answer is that Moritz Seider won the Calder Trophy with 7 goals. One request before the rest, and it is the only one you will get. You found this channel early, which is the hard part. The easy part is the subscribe button, and it is the only thing standing between Toronto and finishing ahead of the Montreal channel I also run. Now put the 2 files next to each other, because the comparison is not mine. He picked it. Måns Gudmundsson, 76th overall, 3rd round, June of 2026. 18 years old, 6'3", right-handed shot, property of Färjestad BK in Sweden. Last season he played 35 games for Färjestad's under-20 team and scored 25 points. 24 of them were assists. He got 1 senior game in the Swedish Hockey League, and he won a gold medal with Sweden at the Under-18 World Championship. Moritz Seider, 6th overall, 1st round, June of 2019. 18 years and 2 months old on the day Detroit called his name. The season before that draft, at 17, he played 29 games for Adler Mannheim in Germany's top professional league and scored 6 points, 2 goals, and 4 assists. 6 points in 29 games, and it was the 2nd highest scoring season any under-18 defenseman had ever produced in that league, and he was voted its Rookie of the Year. Read those 2 lines again, because the numbers are backwards from what you would expect. The 6th overall pick scored 6 points. The 76th overall pick scored 25. The goal column is doing nothing here, and that is not a Gudmundsson problem. It is a defenseman problem. Seider went to the NHL 3 seasons later and put up 7 goals and 43 assists, led every rookie defenseman in the league in both assists and points, and won Rookie of the Year. 7 goals. If you had graded him on goals at 18, you would have graded him on the least informative number available. What actually separated Seider was not a statistic at all. It was the level. At 17, he was playing a full professional season against grown men in a top European league and holding up. That is the thing scouts were buying, and it is the reason a German defenseman with 6 points went 6th overall. Which brings this to the middle of August 2026, and the reason this video exists now. Färjestad has put Gudmundsson on a top pair in the preseason, beside Axel Bergkvist, a 26-year-old with real Swedish Hockey League mileage and the puck moving to carry a teenager through his own mistakes. 18 years old, 1 senior game in his life, and the club is testing him at the level above the one he was drafted out of, next to a veteran chosen to make that possible. That is the same test Seider passed. It is arriving 2 years later in Gudmundsson's life, and it is the only test on his file that will tell you anything. There is one more rung on the German's ladder that almost nobody remembers, and it happens to be the exact rung Gudmundsson is standing on. Before Seider ever played an NHL game, he spent a season in the Swedish Hockey League with Rögle, and he was voted the best defenseman in that league. Not the best young defenseman, the best one. He was 20 years old. The ladder Seider climbed had a Swedish step in the middle of it, and that was the step where the projection stopped being a projection. Which means the league Gudmundsson is trying to break into this autumn is not a detour from the path he named. It is the path he named. Toronto's own list has him 12th in the organization, and the club took 10 players in that 2026 draft. He was the 4th of them. Now the honest column, because the 2 files do not actually match, and pretending otherwise is how prospect coverage rots. Seider had already done it. Gudmundsson is being given the chance to try. 29 professional games against men at 17 is not the same object as 1. And the draft slots say the same thing in a blunter way. 6th overall means 31 teams agreed. 76th means a lot of them looked and moved on. And the scouting reports all circle the same weakness. The skating needs work. That is the sentence that ends more defense prospects than any other. Because a defenseman who is a half step late does not lose a race. He loses his position. And a coach at the professional level will not wait for the feet to arrive. The rest of the report is genuinely good. He defends physically. He is aggressive rather than passive on the retrieval. His first pass is reliable, and he joins the attack instead of parking at the blue line and admiring it. Those are the components of an NHL defenseman. They are all downstream of the feet. His own comparison tells you he knows which end of his game he is selling. Nobody who watched himself score 1 goal in 35 games picks a player famous for defending and moving the puck by accident. And he lands in an organization with a hole shaped exactly like him. Right-handed defensemen who can actually move a puck are the scarcest commodity in the sport, and the Leafs spent the whole 2026 draft collecting them. This is where I stop reporting and give you an opinion you are free to reject. I think the Seider comparison flatters him in the place fans will look and undersells him in the place that matters. Fans will look at the point totals, see 25 against Seider's 6, and feel good. And that feeling is worth nothing, because Gudmundsson's 25 came against teenagers, and Seider's 6 came against professionals. Points do not translate across levels. Trust does. But the comparison undersells him too. And here is my actual position. I would rather own a 76th pick who is being tested 1 level above his head than a 30th pick who is being protected at the level below it. Level of trust is close to the only prospect statistic that has ever predicted anything, and it is the one nobody puts in a ranking because it does not come as a number. Färjestad is not being kind to him. Clubs do not put 18-year-olds on a top pair as a favor. They do it when the coaching staff has decided the kid does not sink. That decision is worth more to me than 40 draft slots, where I would take the other side of my own argument. If the feet do not improve by 20, none of this matters, and the aggression becomes the problem instead of the asset. An aggressive defenseman who cannot recover is just a man who is out of position on purpose. Seider could always skate. That is the part of the comparison Gudmundsson has not earned. Watch 2 things this season, and neither is his point total. Watch whether the Bergkvist pairing survives into the regular season or quietly dissolves in October, and he goes back to the under-20 team. Preseason pairings are auditions, and most of them do not get the part. If he is still there in November on a top pair at 18 against men, then the Seider comparison stops being a quote and starts being a file. And watch the roster Sweden names in December for the World Juniors in Edmonton and Red Deer. An 18-year-old defenseman making that team a year early is the second signature on the same document. So tell me whether you buy it. Is a defenseman with 1 goal and 24 assists at 18 the shape of a future top 4? Or is that just a kid who cannot shoot yet? And settle the argument I keep having with myself. Draft slot or level of competition? Which one would you bet on if you could only see one of them? Every comment gets read on this one.